Are you keeping an eye on the clock? It's 11 away from 8 o'clock. Good to have you with us. I'm Gareth Edwards. Now, sugarcane growers are criticising Treasury for missing a very important deadline to supply data that's relied on when introducing the health promotion levy. It means this. Government introduced the sugar tax back in 2018 to try and improve healthy living, but it's causing issues within the industry. Let's go right to the top and find out what the issues are. The CEO of the South African Canegrowers Association, Thomas Funke, joining us to talk about this. And Thomas, good morning to you. Help me understand what it's doing to jobs, first of all, in your sector. Good morning.
Good morning. When the HPL, the sugar tax, so-called sugar tax, was introduced in 2018, we saw an immediate reaction from the market. So in other words, the beverage industry reformulated, and that meant that our sales dropped by something like 250,000 tons in 1 year, which was a devastating impact. You know, that means that sugar needs to go into the world market, which is a dump market. The price in sugar, it works like this. You don't want to be on the world market. You want to sell all of your sugar locally. And unfortunately with that, it meant there was a huge impact, financial impact on the industry. And that resulted in job losses. You know, the farmers, and I can only speak for the farming sector, just couldn't cope with that type of impact in basically 1 year. So they had to let some of their staff go. And obviously in KZN and Mpumalanga, in those rural areas, sugarcane is the main agricultural commodity. There are no other economic options. So, that was the impact and devastating for us.
Give me a sense of this data request that was made. What data do you need from Treasury? How does that guide your decisions?
Yeah, look, from the start, we've been asking National Treasury and even the Department of Health to prove to us that the sugar tax is worth the job losses that it creates. In other words, does it really do something for obesity? You know, scapegoating one industry and targeting one product, in our opinion, won't fix the obesity crisis in South Africa. Government has to look at their hospitals, their healthcare system, a multi-pronged approach as to how they tackle that issue. We believe that our product needs to be looked at, obviously from a consumption perspective, but also very important, we look after the jobs on those farms. And at the moment we're in a crisis, so we're saying do away with that sugar tax for now and give us some room to develop these alternative products which are part of our master plan, or alternatively put a moratorium together. If you can prove to us that it's actually worked and that it has had an impact, then by all means. And that was this request, really. You know, we've been asking for years and years, and now we've actually written to them under the PIA Act to try and get access to these documents that they use for their decision-making. And as said in our media statement, they missed that deadline yet again.
There are critics out there, Thomas, and you work in the association, you work in the industry. I'm sure you're aware of this criticism that there's an accusation of this as profits versus health. What do you say to those critics?
Yeah, look, from our perspective, it's desperation. You know, we've got the 20,000 odd farmers in the industry. They employ 85,000 people on their farms. In times like these and crises like these, we can't afford any job losses, especially in the rural areas of our country. KZN is a big voting base. You know, we've got the elections coming up. So the last thing you want to do is put people on the poverty line. And that's really our request. You know, we're not health experts, but what we do know is what this impact does to the farming operations in South Africa. And that's what we're trying to tell government. Let's come up with a plan together to tackle the issues in the country and not just attack one product and create those job losses, kill those jobs in this struggling industry.
You mentioned, while we're waiting for this data, you mentioned alternatives in this case. Would these alternatives that you're suggesting, in the absence of the data, I realize you haven't got the data that you want yet, would these alternatives, can you tell me about those, and would it save jobs?
That's what we're working towards. Minister Patel has been very helpful, together with the IDC, to push us through the master plan into this thought process of finding alternatives. For a long time, we've been driving the ethanol agenda and trying to get ethanol into the SA fuel pool. but that requires a subsidy, so that's not going to work. What we're exploring now is sustainable aviation fuels made from sugarcane. That's a mega trend worldwide, and we believe that South Africa can play a big role in this game. So the IDC has come on board. We're working on a pre-feasibility study for that. And that's why we're really saying, give us some time. You know, if we get some time, get a project like that going, we can divert that sugarcane from being produced into sugar into the sustainable aviation fuel. And that way we can save those jobs, maybe even grow the industry if the economics allow, and move into a different future rather than just sugar and molasses alone.
Thomas, in closing, would you like to see the sugar tax, I think it's what we're calling it now, the sugar tax, scrapped, or would you like to see it reduced? Do you see a place for it at all, or do you want it gone completely?
Look, I need to be honest, I don't think it has worked. In fact, I've seen many critics talking about these alternative sweeteners and that they are poisonous and create health issues on their own. Now, I don't think that research has been done either. So I think it's a very dangerous game to single out one product and replace it with something that you haven't worked out if that's actually a healthy alternative. So for now, I would say scrap it completely. Let's reset the whole thing and try and see where we go. Maybe that's unrealistic from government. We wait to hear from them what they say. The minimum for us would be a moratorium to buy us some time to get into these sustainable aviation fuels.
And for the moment, I'm going to say thank you very much. Thomas Funke, SA Canegrowers CEO, talking about the job losses in the sugar industry, Canegrowers Association, joining us this morning. The Arsenal critics, of course, who are suggesting sugar in its form that we use it now, not good for health as well. But the data, according to Thomas Funke, has not been made available by Treasury or the Health Department. We'll follow up, of course, with the departments and come back, I'm sure, to the Canegrowers Association. All right, it's 4 minutes away from 8 o'clock. SA Tourism pursuing a sponsorship deal with English football club